Deepti Karan is with me on the set to take a look at the papers today. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Jeannie.
You're going to start in the U.S., where the Midwestern state of Iowa has just passed one of the most restrictive laws on abortion the country's seen in years.
That's right. It's actually been dubbed the heartbeat bill because the Washington Post explains that it is one of the most restrictive bills in the U.S., essentially prohibiting abortions after they detect a fetal heartbeat. Sometimes that could be as early as 6 weeks when women don't even know they're pregnant. The House and now Senate of the state have passed a bill, and it's just waiting to be signed into law, essentially. As the Des Moines Register, a local paper there, explains, exceptions will only be made under this bill for rape, incest, and if the woman's life is in danger. But it makes no provisions for things like emotional distress or mental illness that could also affect a woman's pregnancy. The writer Rekha Basu slams the fact that many Iowan lawmakers, I quote, seem to be telling us that they love fetuses unconditionally, but they have little use for the women whose wombs are actually are carrying these fetuses.
It's certainly a very controversial story. Thanks for that one, Deepti. In Spain now, you've found reactions to the disbanding of ETA. ETA, of course, the Basque separatist group in Spain.
Goodbye, ETA. That's the headline from El Periódico, which is a Catalan paper. Agur ETA, they say on their front page. And El País, the Spanish daily, hails the final act, or what they call the final act, this defeat of the, quote, last remaining terrorist group in Europe. After 6 decades, they're disbanding. They, of course, disarmed at the end of last year. The editors say Spanish society cannot let ETA write their own epitaph because there is nothing positive to remember about their existence. Their members, they say, were not brave. Citizens who stood up to them, well, they were the real heroes.
Moving on now to Malaysia, and a former prime minister has come out of retirement to contest the upcoming election.
He's known as the founding father of Malaysia. His name is Mahathir Mohamad. He is 92 years old. He's coming out of retirement to challenge the current Prime Minister Najib Razak, who is actually his former protege, in next week's election. The elderly statesman tells the Telegraph, a British paper, that Razak is running Malaysia into the ground, citing crippling debt and a multi-billion-dollar graft scandal that's even engulfed a few Hollywood stars.
Let's take a look at the French president now, Emmanuel Macron. He's in New Caledonia today, but he's actually already reacted to some of those offside comments we were talking about the other day on France 24 that he made in Australia.
And they went viral, Jeannie. It got a lot of people suddenly interested in what was otherwise a very normal diplomatic trip. Lost in translation, or was it a Freudian slip of the tongue? Probably the former. But Macron did call Malcolm Turnbull, the Australian Prime Minister, his wife, the wife of Malcolm Turnbull, delicious rather than delightful, using a direct translation of the word délicieux in French. That's what our France 24's partners at Mashable report. It did prompt a very, very funny front page from the Aussie tabloid The Daily Telegraph, who call him President Pepé le Pew, named after, of course, the lovelorn French striped skunk cartoon from Warner Brothers. Macron has since reacted to this front page, saying it made him laugh a lot. The Turnbulls and the Australian media in general have been quite good sports about it, saying that they were very much charmed by the French president.
Good to know he's got a sense of humor about that cover. All right, to New Zealand now, where the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, has teamed up with a comedian to launch a campaign. Tell us about that.
Well, it's very, very funny as well. It appears that the Kiwis are ticked off because their country, New Zealand, is regularly left off world maps, like world maps in Getty's stock photo library, in IKEA maps, at Starbucks, and in New York's Central Park Zoo. So Jacinda Ardern has come up with a spoof video with a comedian called Rhys Darby, basically talking about this conspiracy that New Zealand is being deliberately left off world maps. Their reasoning being that England wants to destroy the All Blacks, Australia wants to steal its tourists, and France is threatened by its wine industry. Anyway, you can check out this video. It's well worth a watch. It's called, their campaign is called Get New Zealand on the Map, and it's a pretty ingenious campaign for tourism, I think.
I'm going to start looking more closely at maps now that you've mentioned that. That's interesting. All right, let's head now to Iraq, where a familiar figure, someone you might have seen in the press, is contesting the upcoming election there.
You might not remember him by name. His name is Muntazar al-Zaidi, but you'll certainly remember what he did back in 2008. He's an Iraqi journalist who famously or infamously threw both of his shoes at the then U.S. President George Bush Jr. to protest the Iraqi war. And in fact, in the Iraqi city of Tikrit, they erected a giant bronze statue of a a shoe to commemorate that gesture. Well, Al-Zaidi is now running in Iraqi elections later this month. He's going to join the ticket of a group that's supported by the Communist Party, although as the Middle East Eye, a publication reports, he's not exactly a shoo-in to win.
Clever. All right, you're going to wrap up now with a taste of summer, the ice cream flavor we can all look forward to, at least in the States.
And this is according to Modern Farmer, which is a food and consumer magazine that explains that a farm in New Jersey is hoping to showcase the state's iconic ingredients, notably Taylor ham, which is processed pork loaf, something like Spam, I guess. Well, their new flavor features maple ice cream with bits of Taylor ham in it. Other ice cream flavors include blueberry, sweet corn, and tomato pie. I'm not sure if those are together or if they're separate. Anyway, they'll be available throughout the state all summer.
Having said that, I do know a lot of people who do put maple syrup on their sausage, so maybe there's something there.
Anything's possible.
We'll have to try it this summer. Thank you for that deep and for that look at the press review. Thanks to you for watching. Don't forget, you can get a closer look at the press review on our website. That address is france24.com.